Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. I had one of these individuals make a potshot at my 2016 novel Spellbound in the comments section of one of the videos where I called out the racism that was deep throughout Spider-Man Homecoming. And when this individual made that ad hominem attack against Spellbound, they proved to me how spellbound they are and how much they believe the white man's ice is colder. Because when you take a look at this Spider-Man Homecoming from an objective perspective, you can clearly see the racism that is deep throughout this film. When the only two black men featured in a film are criminals, that's racist. When the story is based on a black character and the story is given to a white character, that's racist. However, this individual thinks that by taking a shot at my 2016 novel Spellbound, that's going to hurt me in some sort of way or sort of shame me into silence. Now, I will tell you all about Spellbound because when it comes down to Spellbound, Spellbound is a lot deeper than your Spider-Man Homecoming, a lot richer in it, and a lot more balanced in it. Now, when I created this Matilda Crowley character that was a part of Spellbound, yes, she is a biracial woman who was born of a white father and a black mother. And yes, she does deal with the issues of having to deal with being attacked by black women for being biracial. And the reason why I wanted to shine a light on that story is because that's not a story many people want to talk about. And that's not something most people want to deal with, because when it comes down to this whole light-skinned, dark-skinned dichotomy, we often get the narrative of the white liberal, and that doesn't give us a balanced picture of things. And in that story, we always hear about how the dark-skinned person is being victimized by the light-skinned person, or the light-skinned person is believed to be better than the dark-skinned person, and we don't get to see the other side of the story. And we don't get to see that story because most people are spellbound by the idea of fitting into that black box that is acceptable to white, and they believe that light-skinned people or biracial people get some sort of preference. And with the Matilda character, I wanted to show that she wasn't looking for preference, she wasn't looking for any of that, and I wanted to give you a fair and objective picture. Moreover, when you look at the novel Spellbound, you will see a better picture of diversity than you saw in your Spider-Man Homecoming. When it comes down to your Spellbound, you would see rich, multi-dimensional characters, and you would see black people from different aspects of life. When I did this Spellbound novel, I not only showed you the Matilda Crowley character who was middle class, I also showed you other black people who are working class, because there are in certain scenes I show you middle class black people, working class black people, and poor black people. So you get a richer, more multidimensional picture of African American life in the neighborhood of Sugar Hill, because as a guy who had family in Sugar Hill and a father who took him to barbershops in Sugar Hill, I saw that big picture of life in Sugar Hill. And yes, there are some white people who lived in Harlem back in the day because they wanted to just live there. And there were some people who are, like the Matilda's father, who are just open and friendly and just are decent people. And when I look at this Spider-Man Homecoming, I didn't see that type of diversity presented. Now, I saw that type of diversity in Captain America Civil War, and I saw a more balanced picture of diversity in Captain America Civil War. In Captain America Civil War, we saw 3 black superheroes fighting side by side with the other superheroes, and their roles were on the equal level with Captain America and Iron Man. That's what we call good diversity. That's balanced diversity. That in that type of diversity, we see people and we see their roles. The same thing with Spellbound. We see diversity, and we see the people, and we see their stories. When I saw Spider-Man Homecoming, I did not see a balanced picture of diversity. When I saw in Spider-Man Homecoming was racism, pure and simple. Again, the only 2 black men in the movie are criminals. And when it comes down to the females in this movie, they promote the swirling agenda. And when it comes down to the swirling agenda, it's shallow compared to a healthy and balanced picture of interracial relationships like I depict in Spellbound between Matilda's mother and Matilda's father. Because I know the difference between a healthy interracial relationship, because in a healthy interracial relationship, the couple's relationship is based on things of substance, and it's based on the common things that they have and the values that they have. And in a swirling relationship, it's all about the person's skin tone and how the person is deified by the person. Because when I look at the way Zendaya was following after Peter Parker, I just saw the deification of white men in her behavior and her body language. And when I look at the way Peter Parker was looking at Liz, he was not into her the way a person would be into a woman if they just saw them and not their skin tone. With all the body language in that film, everybody was distant. Everyone was far from each other. There was no real connection with each other. And when I look at that picture of diversity, I could clearly see the racism in that picture, because in their attempt at trying to make things diverse, they clearly showed that they were dysfunctional in trying to promote diversity. And when I look at people trying to come at me and take shots at my work, when I'm trying to present you a fair and balanced picture of diversity, an accurate picture of diversity, I look at that and I say, that's really sad that you have to sit there and take a shot at my work and try to call me a hypocrite when I can clearly see the hypocrisy being presented to me on screen in this film. I can clearly see the racism being presented to me on screen in this film. And when I look at this film, which promotes the whole idea of a smooth world for white people where they have no conflicts, no issues, and they are distant from the people of color, that tells me more of a story about how racist this film is versus what we would see in Spellbound. In Spellbound, you can clearly see that even though people are different and people have issues, they still interact differently than what I saw in this Spider-Man Homecoming. And when I look at the way that somebody to go make an attack it like that, again, that's really low for you to go there and try to attack me for trying to call out racism in one of these films. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you understand what racism is. Because when I look at this film, I see nothing more than racism repackaged in front of me. I see this film, I just see a bunch of stereotypes being presented as what people are, not who they really are. I didn't see anybody become a human being in this story. I didn't see anybody connect with anybody on a personal level. I saw everybody being really distant from each other, and I just felt I saw a sort of tension in this film. And that's what I saw in your Spider-Man Homecoming. And this person will sit there and say, oh, well, you wrote about this in Spellbound, but when I wrote in Spellbound was pretty much put up on that screen, because all I see with this film is people trying to pretend that they're tolerant, trying to fit into boxes that are acceptable to white people, trying to be what the white people see them as and not who they truly are. What I wrote in Spellbound was to show you how black people try to fit themselves into boxes, and how that is destructive and detrimental to them. Because when you try to fit yourself into whatever box that you think is acceptable to white, you are taking away from your own humanity, and you are allowing yourself to be turned into a stereotype. And when you allow someone to turn you into a stereotype, they only see the parts of you that make them feel comfortable. You're not showing all of yourself to someone, and you're not expressing who you truly are. You are suppressing yourself, and no one should be forced to suppress themselves to feel like they have to fit into something. That's dysfunction, plain and simple. That's what being spellbound is. You're trying to fit yourself into a box, trying to be what somebody else wants you to be, instead of being yourself, because that's not living. That's existing, and I wouldn't want anyone to exist, because people who exist are people who wind up simmering in anger and boiling in rage because they can't express who they truly are. And that's what a spellbound individual is. Moreover, when you get so caught up in defending companies like Marvel Studios, that shows how spellbound you truly are, because you think that you need to be accepted by white people, that you'll accept anything given to you by them without demanding some sort of standard be presented to you. Then you just sit there and go, oh, this is from Marvel, this is from white people, so it must be good. Well, when I look at a product and I look at it from an objective perspective, I say to myself, does this product meet my standard? Does this product present what I want to see presented? And when I looked at Spider-Man Homecoming, I did not see a product that met my standard as related to being something of quality. And I didn't see anything worth defending. All I saw was a poorly crafted film that promoted stereotypes, breathed new life into stereotypes, and promoted the whole concept of white supremacy and racism to people. And when you read Spellbound, you would see a complete difference in the picture of diversity regarding black people in Spellbound versus what you saw in Spider-Man Homecoming. And I urge you to go out here and take a look at Spellbound, because you're going to see a completely different picture, and as I believe, a more balanced picture than what you would see in this Spider-Man Homecoming. So if you want to take a look at Spellbound, I urge you to go ahead. I'm leaving a link in the description box to it, and you can go pick up a copy, and you will see a completely different depiction of black people than you saw in that film. In that film, all you saw were two stereotypes, which is one, black men being criminals, and two, black women worshiping and deifying white men like gods. And then they sit there and tell you that that's tolerance, that's diversity, and that's a balanced picture. I'm sorry, that's not a balanced picture as I see it. And if I see racism like that on screen, I'm going to call it out, and I'm going to call the people who make it out, because they need to be held accountable. If as long as people remain silent about racism in these type of films, they're going to continue making more of it. And if more people came out to call it out, you would see people like your Marvel Studios get on their program and start presenting us with more balanced images like Captain America Civil War, and less like we saw in Spider-Man Homecoming. If you want to pick up Spellbound, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.